everyone, welcome back to Callie and Beans Books. I'm Brittany, and today I'm going to wrap up my Fairytale retelling readathon that I was doing over the summer and into the fall. I realized a couple weeks ago that I'm actually getting pretty burnt out with Fairytale retellings, so I'm going to wrap it up and kind of move on. I definitely didn't finish every book that I wanted to for this readathon, but I'm feeling pretty confident in how many books I have read since I started this, and looking forward to the books that I have on my TBR going forward, which I'll touch on everything today. So I'm just going to wrap up, go through all of the books that I read. I won't go into too much detail on individual books. I'm just going to list through which ones I read in order of which I read them with their ratings. So to get started, I first kicked this readathon off with A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave this a 4 out of 5. Overall, ACOTAR as a whole, as a series, is definitely one of my new favorite series in general. I absolutely loved it. It did take me a little bit to get used to and get into the writing style and get into the characters and the magic and everything that's going on in ACOTAR. Going forward in the rest of the series, I absolutely loved it. Moving on to the next book, I picked up Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Finally, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 as well. As a whole, I really adore this series. One of my favorite things about Cinder is the twist on the original Cinderella tale and kind of seeing the sci-fi aspect instead of doing like a fairy tale or, you know, fantasy. It's turned into a sci-fi, which I really enjoyed. The next book I picked up was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and I also really enjoyed the story and the kickoff to the series. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I have not dove into the rest of the series quite yet. It's been a busy month, so I haven't really been reading as much as I want to, but finishing off Throne of Glass is definitely high on my list, as well as a couple of the other books I have in mind to finish off the year. The next book I picked up was Once Upon a Dream by Liz Braswell, and this is one of the Twisted Tales, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed the twist on the story. I really enjoyed her writing style with this story. I'm not a fan of all of her Twisted Tales, but this one was really good. I really liked how dark it was in a way. Like sometimes when we twist the fairy tales and they get dark, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if I like this. But I did really enjoy the darkness, and I enjoyed the growth of the characters throughout the story. The next book I read was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave it a 5 out of 5. And the next one, of course, I finished off the ACOTAR series with A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, and this was also a 5 out of 5. One of my favorite finales ever. I absolutely loved this book. It ripped my heart out, stomped on it, tried to put it back together, ripped it apart again, and then finished the story off with a cute little bow. So that's how I felt about ACOTAR, but I loved every minute of it, and it was perfectly done. And I know ACOTAR as a whole is not everyone's cup of tea, it just so happens to be mine. So I really enjoyed it. Moving on, I jumped back into the Lunar Chronicles with Scarlet by Marissa Meyer, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. In this one, we're following a twist on Little Red Riding Hood. I really enjoyed how she created these new characters and creating these new plot lines, but still brought it all together in one story. I really enjoyed how we have these different things all going on, and then at the end of the day, it's all about one thing. And I really enjoyed it, and it's not confusing. I was able to follow along with the story really well, which I was worried about jumping into it. Moving on, I jumped into Cress, the third Lunar Chronicles story, who is a twist on Rapunzel. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5. It was my favorite of the Lunar Chronicles because we're starting to get more into character development in the third one. Granted, we're seeing the character development throughout the first, second, and into Cress, but overall, this one I felt had by far some of the best character development, relationship development, and we're really getting into the meat of the story, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely one of my favorites of 2020. Of course, the way Cress ended, I immediately jumped into the finale, which was Winter by Marissa Meyer. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. In Winter, we were introduced to a Snow White type character, and she's a little loony, but overall, she brings a lot to the story, and there's a lot more drama around what is actually happening with Cinder's character and everybody as a whole. We get split ups, we get reunions, we get more split ups, and then we think it's done and it's not done and it's crazy and there's 800 pages and you're not ready and then it's done. But overall, it was a really wonderfully written finale and I really enjoyed it. So as a whole, I really enjoy the Lunar Chronicles. I still have to go back and read the short stories and Ferris to get a little bit more of what happened to the characters after the conclusion of Winter and get a little bit insight on the Queen in Ferris. I just haven't had a chance to go and jump into those. So the next story I jumped into was So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim. And it is a twisted tale on Cinderella. And I don't know what it is. I've said it before. I'll probably say it again. I love this Cinderella retelling. It was so well done. I really enjoyed it. This was definitely my favorite read of my fairy tale retellings. Strict fairy tale retellings, I should say. So outside of ACOTAR, this is definitely my favorite read that I finished during the last couple of months. It was just so well done. I absolutely adore Elizabeth Lim's writing style. You can really follow along to how the story is unraveling and it's beautiful. And I highly recommend this story. So if you're looking for a Cinderella retelling that's kind of nothing like the original, then I definitely do think you should pick up So This Is Love. So the next story I picked up, I actually kind of forgot I had on my shelves until we started getting ready to move and I was looking at my shelves and kind of going through books that I wanted to unhaul. And I came across this book and I completely forgot it was on my shelves. And it is Hunted by Meagan Spooner. And overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I absolutely adored it. It was really slow to get into at first, so I was really nervous. There was moments where I'm like, I don't know if I can get into this story. I don't know if I can finish it. But overall, I did end up really enjoying it. The magic system's a little weird. There's a couple moments where I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. But after a certain point, everything starts to kind of click together and things are being revealed to the reader that you actually needed to finish the story. And it came at the perfect time. So rounding off the books that I read for the fairy tale retelling is A Whole New World by Liz Braswell. And this was the very first twisted tale. Now overall, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it. It was meh. It was a very okay read. There wasn't really anything keeping me too engaged in the book besides the fact that I kind of wanted to see what the characters did. Followed the original Aladdin pretty closely, except for changing a couple things here and there. I just didn't feel like the twist was strong enough. I felt like there could have been something else added to the story that would have made it a little bit more intense and a little bit more engaging for the reader. Overall, it was okay. I really do enjoy the twisted tales. There are a bunch out there still that I do want to read. It's just going to be more spread out now. Going into what I'm currently reading in my TBR, I have a nice little baby stack that I thought I'd get done in the month of October, and that did not happen. I'm currently reading The Night Country by Melissa Elbert. I've been stuck at like 50 pages left for maybe a week and a half. It's definitely not what I thought it was gonna be. I'm a little disappointed in it. I really enjoyed the Hazelwood, really enjoyed the writing style and the characters, and I feel like there might have just been too much time in between the Hazelwood and the Night Country for me because I don't remember a lot that happened in the Hazelwood while reading this, and she goes back to it, and there's some things that I just feel are missing and aren't fully thought out. So that's why I'm just like, oh, okay. And all of a sudden we're almost at the end of the story and I feel like nothing really happened. So I'm a little disappointed so far. I'll see what happens in the rest of the book, but I had high hopes and it's just definitely not living up to what I thought it was going to. So the next couple books that I'm talking about will be the floating TBR that I like to keep up with how crazy life's gonna be in the next couple of weeks with Callison's wedding and the holidays and, you know, getting ready for the new year. I'm just not sure how much reading I'm gonna get done. Of course, that's my escape, but I also want to really start getting into studying for the National Veterinary Technician exam, and that's going to start taking a lot of my time up, so it might suck some reading time away. But we'll see. I'm not sure where my timing is going to be split. I do know that I want to start getting back into audiobooks and maybe renting them from the library, so we'll see what happens. But the next book I plan on picking up is The Beautiful by Renee Audier. I've heard some really great things about this. I know the sequel is out as well. I've been really behind on sequels and new releases the last couple of months, with buying the house and moving and getting my work schedule refigured out and all of that stuff, it's been hard to keep up with everything that I want to with reading. So I'm hoping to kind of take a step back in the next couple weeks and really hammer in on what I want to be reading and what books I want to be picking up, and hopefully putting together a Christmas list, because that's soon. After The Beautiful, I want to read another Twisted Tale, Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. This is the next one I want to read because it is Elizabeth Lim, and her writing style is just amazing, and I really enjoy it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does with Mulan. I originally wanted to read this book in the month of October, but I don't think I'm going to get to it exactly in October. I might start it, we'll see, and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I've heard some interesting things about this. It seems like a really spooky Halloween type read, but I don't know if I'm going to get to it. I might just wait and binge all of Leigh Bardugo's books next year, because I know that there's quite a few that I need to read still. We started her Grishaverse for our Serpent and Badger book club, and I was like, I want to finish reading all of them, and pushed it off and pushed it off and pushed it off, and now it's almost November and I haven't read any of them. So I think I might just start over next year and make it a goal of 2021 to read the Leigh Bardugo books. But overall, that is my fairy tale retelling wrap up and my TBR moving forward on what I want to be reading next. Be sure to head over to our channel and subscribe and click that little bell icon. We post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Head over to Instagram and Goodreads. All of the links for our personal and joint accounts will be in the description below, including a link to our book club hosted on Goodreads called the Serpent and Badger Book Club. Until next time, everyone. Bye.